And I guess in theory, but it was about 6 in the morning in Singapore. Good. Well, has anybody been diving? That's a good way to start on. What's wrong with you people? That's oh, I know you're all looking for bets.
Justin, haven't you been diving?
Yeah. I went to Belize with my daughter over spring break. So I got the blue hole ticked off the list. It's pretty epic. I'm not gonna lie. So you know, I didn't get knocked, which is a good thing, or bent. But I wouldn't say you know it was spectacular. I think the blue hole was awesome. Other than that, it's all right. It's all right.
I went diving while I was playing hooky, so Puerto Galera for just 2 days or something. Turned out to be really short, but you didn't miss anything. Cold, dark, springtime, you know, pretty rough, a lot of rain. That's the story I'm telling at home anyway.
I had a miserable time.
Yeah, actually, it was cold. We got out there and it was like it went down to 75. Some of the dives, so it was pretty chilly. So yeah, it's just across from Antelope on the other side of the channel. Yes. Well, who wants to? Let's see. We've got some reports. I see Frank. You always want to say something, so why don't we? Yeah. Hold this mic. They may be able to hear you.
Yeah.
No, my report's on the Council of Diving Clubs. 2 things. The first is we're again having our annual scholarship program where we offer a $500 support for tuition for a member, for some of the members' family or their grandkids. And then the second is a report on the charity that we're trying to form. We sent in and submitted to the state incorporation papers for the American Charitable Water Sport Activities Foundation. So that's the name we've chosen to ask for. As to what they come back with, we don't know at this time. But right now, that's the progress we've made. We've taken step 1. We are trying to incorporate. Thank you.
You set a record. I've never seen it go that quickly. Well, any other officers? Of course, nobody contacted me saying they wanted to stand up and say anything. Yeah, so we're gonna go into that. Before we do that, let's lower the lights.
Got 2 that don't work at the house. Another light switch. Maybe over there.
roughly half the films of the show. HUF. So these films. So, hello, what? Oh, the microphone? Can everybody online hear me okay? I think they can. Okay, so.
Loud and clear.
All right, good. Well, we just had a committee meeting for the HUF, so the short story is everything is on track. Betsy's cracking the whip, and we're all trying to bear up under it. And a dress rehearsal that we're going to do on. So if you're involved in that, you know about it. If you're not, you're lucky. But if you haven't bought your tickets yet, go ahead and do it. They're online, and I will say they're going fast. We sold like 28 packages in the first few days that we had them on sale. So it's looking really good, and we expect we're probably going to have a full house. We're in smaller theater this time than we were the last time. We had 2 different theaters last time, you may recall, but they weren't available at the times that we wanted. So we wanted afternoon performances so that we can go over across the street and drink beer afterwards is the main motivation for that. And we were able to get the same theater on both Saturday and Sunday night, Saturday and Sunday afternoons, Matchbox 3. Don't be disturbed when you print your ticket off. It may say Matchbox 4 on it, but it's actually in 3. So the raffle, my God, has just gone crazy this year. It's amazing how you get a little bit of a history behind you, how people suddenly start stepping up. We've got, what, 3 different travel prizes in the raffle this time. One of them is worth $2,700. Another one is worth over $1,000. And I don't know, did we ever put a number on Buceo? I can't remember. It was about 1,000. Yeah, but it's something, it's like you have to have somebody else. Anyway, it's kind of a buy one, get one, something like that. It's worth about 1,000, I think. So some big prizes, artwork, books, for all the donations, books and things.
Texas dive plates again.
Texas dive plates, Fling. I can't remember them all off the top of my head. The Fling has a discount for a prize on each of the showings.
Big blue lights again.
Big blue lights, yeah. So that was just confirmed today. Backscatter is a new sponsor this year. So have a look at the raffle, and remember, it's 3 tickets for $5. Credit cards are accepted for this. And I'll tell you, people go crazy when get some of this equipment there. I remember people bought first raffle we had. They bought like $30 or $40 worth of tickets. They wanted to win this light, Unfortunately, they didn't win it, I don't think. Somebody else did, but that's the luck of it.
That was Justin's.
No, that was the second one. The first one I was talking about was some young people I didn't even know before. I think they just came for the raffle. So anyway, yeah, Justin, we weren't going to talk about that, but we will. Justin won it, and I'm highly suspicious of this. I know it's gotten good use. Okay.
We're going to have a lot of items to sell.
Oh, please talk about the sales. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me get online here. There we go. There we go. Since I'm the merchandise guy. You see this shirt right here? We got plenty of them. And if you have volunteered, you're going to get them for our cost. If you buy them and you're not a volunteer, then we're going to make a little bit of profit off of them. And we're going to be offering 3 different sizes of prints, actually 4 larger ones. And then we have baseball caps. We have mugs. Please buy a mug. We need to get rid of them. And about 4 different styles of t-shirts, colors, and everything like that. So we're going to have plenty of stuff to sell.
Bring your cash, bring your credit card, and buy a bunch of stuff.
There's no Bitcoin.
No Bitcoin.
So performances start at 3 o'clock on both days. And we need to turn the lights back on as well, showing any. Lobby of the theater will open 2 o'clock, so you'll have a full hour. If you want to come a little earlier than that, you can. I mean, nobody's going to stop you, but officially, and then we'll start letting people come to the theater maybe 20 minutes till 3 or something like that. That's what we normally do. So, and it should run till about 5:30, and then we'll go across the street on the Saturday night, brass tap, anybody that wants to. It's not required, and it's your own nickel, so I'm sorry, unless you can get Dennis. Maybe we can shame him into it, you know.
I can be shamed.
Ring bell or something like this, you know. The drill on Sunday night is there's a reception afterwards where we go across the hall and we have the raffle drawing there, and there'll be a buffet, ticket required buffet for sale there as well, but it's a cash bar, credit card or cash. And I suspect a few of us might wander across to the brass tap after that anyway, you know, afterwards. So I think that happened the last time too. So there's a raffle after each performance, and the prizes are different at each one. So you get chances tonight. Yeah. Do you still need volunteers? Absolutely. Very good. So I feel like I'm forgetting something about this. I can't believe. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, please, yes.
Okay, so HUPS is gonna return to doing our almost annual Bonaire trip, October. All the details are in the newsletter. Would love to have anybody else join us. I think we've got 8 divers plus 1, 2, 3 non-divers, I think it is. So we've got a couple more rooms left if anybody else wants to join us.
Cool. Now for the fun part of the show. Here we go. I started something a little different. It's called Gadget of the Month. Okay. And this is the idea is we're all gadget freaks, or we wouldn't be doing diving to start with, you know. And don't worry, if I don't get volunteers, I got a load of them to bring in. But this one is going to be presented by my dear wife because she discovered this little item, and she's going to explain what it is and how it works.
This is what we call at our house the mosquito zapper. It's actually called a Therapic. And when you get a mosquito bite, as soon as you know that a mosquito has bitten you and you don't want to get a big swollen area and itch, you just push the button, put it on the spot, hold it down until it gets so hot you can't stand it. Okay, take it off. Personally, I do that 3 times, and it takes the toxins from the mosquito saliva and it neutralizes it. And it takes down all the swelling. It takes down, there's no itching. And if you do it right away, you won't even get a red spot. If you wait a while and you go, oh yeah, I've got a bite, it'll take the swelling and itching out, but you'll have like a little red spot, but it'll be flat. Okay. Therapic, highly recommend it. We travel with them, and you know, they're all around our house. They're in the backyard. Actually, for me, Craig is the best mosquito repellent because they love him. So if he doesn't bother me at all.
Called a Therapic.
Therapic. It has a 9-volt battery in it.
What do they cost? $20 or something?
No, like 15.
Does it work on snake bites?
Does not work on other kinds of bites. It's
Or hickeys.
Does not work on on the needle end.
But it's magic on mosquito bites.
Yeah, there's other things that you can try to do. This just works by heat. It toxin here. It would probably work on devilfish, scorpionfish things as well, because they respond to heat as well, which I found out. And my pointer stick down in the sand.
The sound seems to be going away.
Well, we didn't want you guys to hear this, okay? I found out by sticking my hand in the sand, and a devilfish was there with his, spikes there, and my middle finger swelled up like my big toe, and the guy just drew off a hot cup of water from the tea thing and said, stick your hand in there, and by the next dive it was gone. So certain kinds of toxins are neutralized by heat, and mosquitoes are one. So probably this would work, like I said, on scorpion fish stings when you're diving as well. Anyway, 9-volt battery. It's a nice gadget. Okay. So be thinking about what your gadget of the month will be for next week. I'm going to be calling around, or you call me, send me an email if you've got one you're dying to. But this can be anything about travel, photography, just everyday life, whatever. Just, pass on. Can be an app on your phone, for example, if you have a really good one. Okay.
I got a good review on my on diving with my Apple Watch Ultra. I got some really funny videos and pictures to show that it actually recorded me walking underwater. So it's pretty epic.
Wow. So that's new, is it, Justin?
Yeah. So it's the latest Apple Watch that has a built-in dive computer. So I actually used it on all my dives in Belize as a backup, obviously, but there's some really awesome pros and there's some interesting cons.
Well, that's great. It's an Apple product. Maybe if I tell my wife, she'll start diving again.
I got you.
Of course, like anything else, Apple, it's very reasonably priced, I'm sure. And plays nicely with PCs and Android phones as well.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll keep that one in reserve for maybe the next meeting. Great. Okay. Well, I think I'm about done, unless I've forgotten something else. I think it's over to our program chair to.
Right, well, I'm going to get it back over here. And I will try to introduce our people tonight. I think everybody has already met Debbie since she talked about the Bonaire trip. But I've known them for, 25 years at least? Yeah. Ever since I joined HUPS back in the 1990s, they've been around. We've been on a number of trips together and we've shared presentations. They're just good people. They run the Bonaire trip. I think they've been there, like 20 different times or something like that, at least. But one of the things that they do is, besides spending their kids, I'm sorry, you don't have kids. Yeah, your kids' inheritance on camera gear and lenses and everything else. They love to travel. And it's not just traveling to Palo Duro Canyon or something like that. They go all over the world. They go up into the mountains and play with the gorillas. They go to multiple safaris. You've been up to Alaska multiple times for the grizzlies and the salmon runs. If it's someplace in the world that you'd like to go, they've probably been there. And tonight, unfortunately, our presentation that was originally scheduled on cave diving by Bob and Christine had to be canceled and postponed until October, I think, because his father died unexpectedly. So I think we're very fortunate to have such a quality pair of presenters tonight on such a short notice. So if you would give them all a round of applause, Debbie. And here is your weapon of mass destruction.
Okay.
Might take us a second. I think Debbie is the spokesperson.
Well, Jim's going to add comment because he can't help
Jim,
it.
do you have
Only when she lets me.
Craig, give him your microphone. Oh, okay.
If you remember the movie Planet Escape from the Planet of the Apes, there is Zira and Cornelius. Debbie is Zira. I'm Cornelius, and I get to speak only when she lets me.
Okay, so we put this presentation together for the lunar fins, actually, and Jovan asked us to do it, and we were happy to. And what we were talking about, what we'll do a reprise of tonight, was what we ended up doing during the COVID lockdown. So, as I'm sure happened to everybody, we and when they first told us stay home, we kind of figured, okay, 15 days, no big deal. We'll get to do everything we had planned for the summer and the rest of the year, no problem, until things on and on and on. And the first thing we had that got impacted was a trip to Juneau to do whale watching with a photo pro. And Alaska ended up being one of the more restrictive states. They really wanted it to only be there, and they had like the 14-day quarantine, even if you managed to get it. So that trip got canceled. We got all the money back, canceled the flights, and then things got a little better. And so last minute, the photo pro that we were going with called and said, "Can you make it? I think we're a go." And that's kind of where the show started, and then I'll continue on to what else we did. And so if you can pull up the presentation, the
Screen shares.
oh, it's there. Okay, already. I just had it, so it didn't start until I started it. Okay, so begin the presentation with what I called the whale of the tail, a whale of the tail. So last minute, the trip was still on, and it was interesting trying to figure out how to get the COVID test done. It had to be a PCR. It had to be in, a couple of days before you left, but we managed to figure it out. Got one of our very first brain scans with that ugly little pic. But we made it up there, and we're thinking nobody else is going to be up there. It's going to be great. It's going to be us and the whales. Problem was, it was our boat and one other out there, and it's a big ocean, and there are whales there. But unless you have other people helping you find them, they can be a little elusive. Has anybody been to Juneau, like on a cruise ship? Yeah, if you go there, it is thick with big boats out looking for whales during the summer. There were two boats, two little 6-pack boats. So it was hard to find them. The first day, we totally got skunked with whales. And I think it was because we saw these guys, large pods of orcas, and they weren't just swimming around us.
Sorry, Debbie. I think we're just still seeing Martin's desktop.
Ah, okay. Hang on a sec. Thank you for letting us know.
I was waiting with bated breath, and I'm like, that's not a whale tail.
No.
A recycle bin, a shortcut.
Zoom share. Zoom share. Your screen is paused. Sharing is paused. Come back up.
Can you see it now? Justin, are you seeing it now?
Almost. I have a black screen with some lines.
Yeah,
Trying
to... Here you go.
Desktop.
Are you seeing water in the background?
No, just seeing the desk, just seeing his desktop. I see his mouse. That's good.
Okay, we're gonna start over again then. At least the show part or the slide part of it.
Everything running smoothly as usual.
Ah, yes. And then. Did we share that?
Is this it?
No, it's not an iPad, definitely. Can you just maybe copy it over to your desktop?
Getting closer.
I mean, yeah, I could see what you're gonna show us. That's awesome. Jim eats a crock. Yeah.
President Logan. That's his fault. What are you seeing?
Nothing. Share that one, maybe? Or just do this one?
Desktop.
Baby card. Well, just maybe copy it to the, it's not that big.
I don't see that, right?
Do you guys see that?
Not yet.
Nope. Okay. Yeah, we'll just copy it over.
Okay, pause for a minute.
We saw the screen that it's gonna load from, but then it went away.
We're gonna
Or
take just a break
The
while he
camera,
transfers
just
it over.
put the camera on the screen.
Yeah, just point the camera on the screen.
That'd be the easiest.
Okay, the drinks are on the house.
Is this like the duct tape of web conferencing?
What? How's that working? Will that be okay for you guys on Zoom?
It's pretty small.
Camera up. Okay, I don't need. I have to close it so I can.
Ooh.
I'm getting it as close as I can, but I don't know, I can't see it on the screen myself. How's it looking? Lined up?
Yeah, we'll take it.
Okay.
Okay. Where was I? Okay, orcas. We ran into orcas. So they were keeping the whales. Okay, so the resident pods won't, but the transitory pods will. And these guys were very, very, very active. So we got great pictures. We were happy with the day. I actually kind of posted on Facebook that the flying orcas were keeping the whales away. And a friend of mine thought I was serious, that we were complaining about not seeing the whales. So where were the whales? We did finally find them. In some years past, we've had more active ones, bubble net feeding and such, but because it was kind of harder to figure out where they were, we were happy with what we got, which was a few breaches of the babies, one mama, which came out of the water. This is the company we went with. This guy runs a boat, a 6-pack boat, and he does a great job. And he also does halibut fishing. So if you guys ever get up to Juneau, highly recommend. Captain Kevin, he's the one with the funny looking beard. But we had a great time, and it was a good test of our abilities to get someplace during COVID. The trip also included a run out to Tracy Arm, to the glacier there. And the blue that you see in the background is real. That is the color that you're going to see if you're out there. It was a little nasty weather, but that's Alaska. But yeah, the ice is so compact that those are the real colors. I didn't enhance that. There we go. Come on. That's a little hole in an iceberg.
It's a tunnel from where you are to where you want to go.
And there are animals there, lots of the seals on the ice floes. And then there's also a salmon hatchery in Juneau, and that is the best place to see all the eagles because obviously they're going after the fish. Come on, there we go. And so that was adventure number 1. A little later on that summer, a call from the folks that own a lodge in Lake Clark National Park. They did not open for the season because of all the hassle getting there, but they were going to be there a week, just the 2 of them. And since we had been there lots of times and they knew us, they called us up to say, "You want to come hang with us for a week?" There are only 2 lodges in this particular area. The other lodge was operating, but only about half capacity. And then the one that we always like to go to, it was the 2 of us and the owner and his wife. And that was it. We had the best time. And by then we kind of knew the procedure for getting to Alaska. So we felt very comfortable going up there. But that's the owner and that's the lodge. And it was us and the bears.
And our big lenses.
And our big lenses, yes. So the time we were there, the salmon were running into Silver Salmon Creek. The silver salmon is what shows up there. And the bears were fishing, and we had the best time. Some mamas and cubs are typically there. And one cub was just the cutest little thing. He was fluffy. He looked like a stuffed bear. You just wanted to hug him. Mama wouldn't have liked that much though. Weather was typical Alaska weather. So sometimes because of the fog and all, you turn them into black and white. But I got the shot that I have always wanted since we started going up there. The way the creek runs there, it makes a lot of turns. And so we could get in one of these turns looking straight up river, and Mama was running straight at us. And so we were probably maybe 100 feet from her.
Very close.
And she got the salmon. And while the other lodge was eating dinner, so there was literally just the four of us out there, we got to see a bear fight. That's Mama and her two cubs and a young male. That's the one in the back. And he was not very good at fishing. So he would prefer to steal the fish from the babies. Mama was not happy.
Oh yeah, protect your cub.
And he just kept coming and coming.
Get badly hurt for this to end. Burning. Survival. Well, it's a good lesson for cubs. If you don't get killed. Yeah. Yeah.
Mom's probably getting tired of it.
So to catch that little clip, but we also caught quite a few still pictures. We were not all that far away. We probably should have been a little more nervous and backed up a little, but we were kind of excited about it. So
who did the video and who did the stills?
I was doing the video, and I got some stills too. This happened more than once. These are probably mostly just Jim's pictures of the fight.
There was probably about 45 seconds worth of a fight where I probably got a couple of dozen.
We were surprised that nobody got killed.
Including us.
Including us, because we should have been backpedaling a lot more. But these bears are very used to people being around. They have not been hunted in generations. And I would not try that at any place besides there. You would definitely not get that close to grizzlies in Denali or a lot of other places.
When we
in Katmai or anything.
We encountered a bear on a I was not only us, but the horses
were spooked. Yeah.
So it's a very unique place. Bears.
And so, of course, not just Alaska. Toward the fall, Africa was open, so we had the opportunity to go, and we did. We went to Kenya, and again, not that many people there.
Oh, wait a minute. When you do international travel, as almost all of us do, I think one of the most comforting things to see is your name being held up at the airport. Because now you know from that point on, everything is going to be taken care of.
especially when you don't know the language.
What was X2? Is that?
Oh, 2 people. So we spent a couple of days in Nairobi. Anybody ever goes, Nairobi National Park is a wonderful treasure. And during COVID, it turns out that a lot of the locals ended up going there. You know, it's in their own backyard, but they tend to ignore it. But during COVID, since they couldn't go anyplace else, they did go to the national park and really figured out what a treasure it was. And this is a buddy of ours who was our guide for there. The neat thing about Nairobi National Park is it is just right outside the city. So that is the backdrop of Nairobi. And does anybody know what a group of giraffes that are standing still are called? I guess if they're standing still, they're called a tower. So you're able to get a picture of a tower of giraffes with the towers of the city behind them. Yeah. And the only place in Kenya that we've ever seen the rhinos is there at the park. They've got both black and white rhinos there. So it's well worth your time to go to Nairobi National Park. Then we headed to a new place for us, which is Amboseli. It is southeastern Kenya, and actually a better place to see Kilimanjaro than Tanzania. You tend to have better luck weather-wise seeing it in Amboseli than you do over in Tanzania. We got to see something we had never seen before. This is okay, what kind of cat is it? I'm totally going.
Civet?
No.
Serval, I'm sorry.
A serval cat. Yes. Yeah. No, the serval cat's the other ones. I can't remember. Anyway, the first time we'd ever seen this guy. And then this is why you go to Amboseli, the big tuskers. And if you stick in the private conservancy, you can get out of the vehicles to photograph them. If you're in the national parks, you can't. But that's Kilimanjaro, and that's an elephant named Leroy. He was giving us a bow. And I think that's also Leroy. And Leroy and a couple of friends.
They're all male?
Yeah, these guys. It's a matriarchal society, but the females and the little ones tend to stick together, and the males are solitary. And the other nice thing about a private concession is you can stay out after dark too, or you can stay out long enough to watch the sunset. In a lot of the private parks, you have to be back in your lodge by sunset. Then we moved on to a different park, or over to the Masai Mara. And this was a camp we had never visited before. Because it was COVID and there was nobody there, that was our tent. That entire thing, all 5 peaks of it. The center one was like a living room area. The next 2 on either side of it were bedrooms. And then the ones on the ends were the bathroom. So we had, for the 2 of us, we had all that. It was kind of nice. This is a tent. I mean, it's canvas. You got to zip it. But it's just a little on the nice side. Wooden floors, indoor plumbing, a copper soaking tub, king size bed. So, you know, there are some very nice tents out there. That's the shower. And then this is what we got to see in this concession. There actually were 4 little cubs, but one of them, like typical siblings, one did not want his picture taken. So we got 3 fluffy little guys and a 4th one who was just out the picture. Cats are our favorite. I don't care if they're lions, serval cats, leopards, whatever, cheetahs. So we got to see all of them this trip. This is a little lady named, we called her Figlet. Her mom was a well-known leopard named Fig. And then lots of cubs. I love little guys of any species. So these cubs were just having a blast.
So in this particular scene, we followed this pride of lions probably for almost an hour, maybe for as far as 2 miles, and they probably spread out about 200 yards. So there was action going on all the time.
And then fights, of course. And then we moved on to another camp. This is our buddy Ping in the traditional Maasai plaid. And the guy who runs the maitre d', if you will, of the camp, Brian. And a little more simple in terms of the tents, but still nice. King size bed, indoor plumbing. That's my criteria. It has to have indoor plumbing. And they had a nice fire going for us and a lot of wine. Yeah, it's typically the places we go, it's included. And we've learned to love South African wines since they all serve them there. There's a blend or something called Pinotage. Really good. We like that one. As soon as we got to this other camp, Ping, our buddy, is an animal. He's a cat whisperer. He knows these animals. And he picks us up, and first thing he does is take us to this tree and says, I know where the leopard is, and it's going to come down soon. And it did, and we followed it over to a watering hole. And he found the lions for us. There were buddies in the vehicle right in front of us. They came from another concession because they weren't finding anything, and they knew Ping, and they knew he was going to find something. And then the guy in the last vehicle just followed us around the whole week because he knew our guide Ping knew what he was doing. So caught up with these little ladies, and this is a serval cat, isn't it? Serval,
Yeah.
S-E-R-V-A-L, serval cat?
Yes.
Yeah, so the other one was not a serval cat. Yeah, the other one, I forget what it's called.
Caracal.
Yeah, that's it. This was, yeah, so this is our first time seeing these guys too. And then end of the trip, it's still COVID. We actually had these guys meet us out in the bush. They flew in from Nairobi, did the COVID test for us, flew back to run the test, and emailed us the results so that we could get back home. No, fortunately, that was nice. And Emma, Caracol, that's it, yeah.
That it?
Yep, that's the guy.
Caracol.
Yeah. A Caracol.
There you go.
So the first one we saw, yeah, that was it. And it was just a brief little glimpse of it. It turned around to look at us so we could get a picture, and then it was gone. So that was our year. We had a last minute opportunity to go to Botswana in December. And then Omega hit. Omicron. We had all our suitcases in the car. We were leaving the next morning. I'm hearing from all my family saying, "You're not going there, are you?" Mark Leschowitz was already there, and we were emailing with him saying, "What's it like there?" And he and his wife decided to come back early. Our concern was not so much being there, because we were going to be out in the middle of nowhere. It was, what if the airlines decide to stop flying? So we canceled the trip, but we were able to reschedule it all for March of, the next year. And by then, not a problem. We got our COVID test. While we were in the air, they discontinued the need for the COVID test. So if we'd have waited one more day, we wouldn't have had to do it. So this is, you fly into South Africa, into Joburg, in order to get to Botswana. Botswana does not have an airport to handle large international flights.
So what makes,
Oh,
Deb?
I don't know if I can.
So what,
There.
so what makes this a unique photography opportunity is that we, as a photographer, we get the entire road. We usually shoot out of the left-hand side of the vehicle, and on the, if you notice there's a little bit of a platform here that you can put a beam back on your camera. So photographers, we have all of our gear on the right side, and then we shoot out of the left side. So we're the only ones on the road with all of our gear. Now, what that means is that there's only 3 or 4 people in the vehicle, and it's going to cost you more because you don't have 8 or 10 people, but you have an incredible graphic opportunity.
That vehicle there usually hosts six people plus someone next to the your driver.
Okay.
And the short guy on the right-hand side is our photo pro. He lives in South Africa. And wonderful. He was a guide. And this is why you need a professional with you. If he hadn't been there, we probably never would have seen that lion. And he's pointing him out. He's really good at that. Just kidding. Botswana is one of my favorite places to go. This guy was calling for his brothers. That sound travels for miles. It's not indigestion. And you can't hear it on this, but you could actually hear his brothers calling back to him. The other thing that is unique about Botswana is the wild dogs. You're more likely to see them in Botswana. And we did. We found a large pack. And this is a new technique that our buddy Grant, I think, kind of figured out how to do it with the mirrorless cameras and the screens that, you know, you can rotate them so you can see them. You put the camera, and they're lighter too, so you can put the camera on a selfie stick, hang it down low. You've got the screen popped out so that you can see what's going on, and we've got a Bluetooth enabled clicker for it, remote. And the dogs were interested, but and that's the shot we got. But this is what you're able to do by getting the camera down low. You're at eyeball level with the animals, so there's more emotion there. You're connecting more with them. So these were taken with that technique. And the elephant, same thing. So you can get it, you know, from the ground looking up. Some new things for us, again, horrible picture, but it was in the middle of the night. This is a wildcat, an African wildcat mama and 2 little babies. First time and only time we've ever seen that. And so that's her. And then this is something called a genet.
Yeah.
And first
genet.
time we had ever seen that. And I totally forget what this is. It's a little rodent. It is not a rat. It's not a rabbit, but it kind of looks like both. First time I'd ever seen that guy too. And then birds. Botswana is famous for all the birds. This is a kingfisher that's about to go into the water and catch a fish. And then they have to swallow them with the head gut. So if they catch it the other way, they actually have to toss it up and catch it so that it'll go down the right way. And this guy here, I forget his real name, but I call him my Dracula bird. Very unique fishing style. So he's using his wings to create shade. So that's, that was kind of fun to watch. Yeah, just stir the soil and yeah. And then lots of bee eaters of all various kinds. Come on, advance. And then these guys here, we caught them on about the last day that they were going to be around before they migrated. And we found a stick that they were all on. And we're just able to stay there and watch them. Then we moved on up to the Chobe River. The Chobe River is the dividing line between Botswana and Namibia.
And the significant thing to point out about this picture is at this lodge that we stayed at here, these are their photography boats. And you can see there's a little seats up and along the deck of the boat. Probably handles what, about 10 people or so?
Yeah, about 10 people.
Debbie and I, our photography pro and our guide were the only ones on this boat. So, and there were 2 other boats that were going out from the same lodge that had 10, 12 people on them.
So that was the advantage of having Grant with us. He works at this lodge sometimes too. So he was able to snag us the boat just for ourselves. But you can see it's kind of cool. It's easy to use your long safari lenses because you've got a gimbal on the chair. So you can set it up. And the elephants were in abundance. They come down to the river to drink. We got the little babies again. And
this image here, we were probably here at this location maybe an hour and a half. And we might have seen 100+ elephants. And having done this experience before, you know some neat things are going to happen if you just have the patience and wait for them. And so in this case, this is what I was looking for, was for the little baby to raise his trunk up to touch mom.
And they roll around in the mud. And
and
there are Crocs. And that's what I was going for. You just sometimes got to do some artsy sort of stuff too. So that was our COVID year. We still got to do some stuff, and I know. And we found out that sometimes it's good to be the only ones there, like with bears. Sometimes it's not with the whales, but it was a lot of fun in both cases, and we really enjoyed our year once we figured out the ins and outs of getting a PCR test and filling out paperwork and convincing family that we weren't trying to kill ourselves.
But as tourists, what we really realize, and this is something that Ken Kinesic mentioned to us maybe, I don't know, 10+ years ago, is that these places we go to, they depend upon our tourist dollars for their livelihood. So Debbie mentioned that this trip to Botswana got canceled literally the night before we were going to leave. And the day before that, we sat at the kitchen table and we had like 15 different envelopes for the different camps we're going to, for our tour guides, the staff, and all the different folks that were going to provide us service. So we wrote out on each one of those the different people these gratuities were written for. And when that trip got canceled, we took all those gratuities that passed on to everybody. We folded all those envelopes in and we put them back in the drawer. Those people needed our tourist dollars. So anyway, we were very glad we could go and help provide their livelihood. You want to show them we have a cool video?
No, I was going to show a couple of these were not during COVID, but just wanted to show you a couple of things of fun things to do in Africa if you go with the right people. Our Grant, the photo pro, he was a guide at one of the camps for quite a few years. So he really, really knows animal behavior. He lets us get under the right circumstances, we can get out of the vehicle. And so you get those eyeball level.
Going to get 800 of a second, so you can get 6.3 or 7.1.
Sorry about that. I forgot he was talking in it. But these guys, these are pups. They had eaten mom and dad, and the rest of the pack were sleeping. So they came out to play with us. Whoops, where'd that go? Where's my screen? And then we dropped the GoPro and backed away just to see what they would do. So they were very curious about the smells that were on the ground, and this little GoPro. So they came over to check it out. They straightened one of the legs for me. Apparently I didn't have my horizon horizontal. So at one point, one of them does pick it up, and but all he did was straighten it out. So, but it was kind of funny to go back and watch this afterwards to see we weren't that far away. They don't bark,
but they're vicious.
But we watched them hunt. We lost sight of them for less than 30 seconds. They went under some bushes. We had to go around. By the time we got back to them, and literally less than 30 seconds, they had gutted an impala and had most of it eaten. So, yeah, they can be vicious. Let's see. So, let me find. I think I have. What do I have? A 9? I don't know. It's not the latest and greatest. Okay, but now you talked about something eating it. We did the same thing. We saw a lioness coming down off a hill. So we dropped the GoPro right in front of her. And surprisingly, she walked right to it. We were just hoping to get a picture of her going past, but she made a beeline for it. This was a new GoPro for me. I forget which number it is. And I was just really impressed by the colors and the quality of it. But then she got really curious about it. And if you've ever wondered what a close-up of a lion's tongue looks like, that was it. Eventually, she found something that was good and smelly and dropped it. So I did get it back. It was a little spitty, but and then if you're not convinced, let's see, if you're not convinced that a GoPro does good, oh, I should have X'd it out. This was from a month ago. We like our whales. So we went to Maui, and I was using the GoPro. So if you see that fin in the distance, that's what I was shooting. So this was totally unexpected. Yeah, I wanted to see that twist.
I had my Canon R5 with 100 to 500 lens on it. Probably zoomed out to about 400. So all I got was a piece of the belly.
When the boat captain asks you for a copy of it and is totally as excited as you are, you know it's something that they don't see too often, that up close and personal. So that was, I guess I had one more. I was just going to show you just in general what life in the bush looks like. This,
typical bush breakfast, coffee, amarula.
Has anybody had amarula? Okay, we had amarula. It's kind of a Bailey's sort of thing, but it's made with marula fruit from South Africa and a cream liqueur, and it goes really, really well in coffee. So even now we drink it at home. We buy it by the case. Oh yeah. Specs and Total Wines have it. So anyway, but the typical day, you'll start off really early, like before sunrise. You'll grab coffee and a muffin or something. You'll go out for sunrise typically, because we're in private concessions, so you can get out before the sun. Then someplace along the line, once the light gets a bit harsh, you'll stop someplace and have breakfast. And in a lot of cases, it's a full breakfast. You might shoot some more, end up back at the camp for lunch and a nap. And then you go back out in the afternoon, you stop for a sundowner. So as the sun is dropping, they'll break out the snacks, or what do they call them? Bites. And, cocktails, a gin and tonic, beer, wine, whatever. And you toast the sun going down. And then you go back to camp, eat dinner, fall asleep, and rinse and repeat. What's that? Repeat again for as long as you're going to be there. You sleep on the plane back. Yeah, exactly. So that's about all we have, I think. Exit. Okay. I think there might be, got to show you Jim and the croc.
Oh.
That guy was pretty big.
Is this when he snaps at me?
No, we didn't catch that one, unfortunately.
This croc turned around. I was doing that, and he turned around and lunged at me, and I damn near fell out of the back.
Yeah, that was.
But these guys, the crocs are about 20 feet or so in length. They're big.
We're going to be diving with them in Cuba.
Oh, Cuba, yeah.
June, July, but they're small ones.
Yeah, no, these guys are humongous.
They're
yeah.
About 6 feet long.
These days, we have switched to the mirrorless cameras. We're shooting with Canon R5s. And we ended up getting the 100 to 500, which has worked out to be a great lens.
Is that the mirrorless 100 to 500?
Yeah, the RF version, mirrorless.
Yeah, it's a true 100 to 500.
Yeah,
and a 70 to 200 as well.
And we got the 70 to 200 for that one.
The adapters, then you get what, a 1.8 or something?
No, the adapter doesn't do. No, it's a full frame camera already.
I don't know. You have that.
An R7's a crop sensor. Yeah. R5's a full frame. But we do have the adapter, so we can use those other big safari lenses on the cameras as well. But Africa, we always bring minimum 2 bodies, sometimes 4.
That's a lie. In Africa, we take on board 2 bags each that weigh 30 to 35 pounds each. That's why we have to go to the gym.
Yeah. So we always bring our 70 to 200, the 100 to 500. I love my 400 prime. That's an EF lens, so I do use the adapter with that one. But it's a 2.8, so the bokeh is incredible. And then something wide for the elephants and landscapes. And this next trip we're going to do next in May, we're going to do some night photography too. So we're going to do some Milky Way stuff. So we're going to have to bring the tripods and the 16 to 35. And anyway, it's going to be, that's why we go to the gym and work out.
Try to get the share screen for the photo contest.
Yeah, make sure work. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, let me turn around here. Yeah. Oh, there I am. I look like I'm. Yeah. I wanted to thank Jim and Debbie very much for filling in for us. I think this was, it wasn't traditional, but it was really good. Thank you very much. Okay, this is going to be another exploration by Martin. We're going to have the photo contest, we hope. So, Martin, you're on screen. Okay. I'll turn it around just in case. Oops.
I think you got it wrapped around.
Yeah, I do. Are you seeing screen or not?
Yeah, we're seeing it.
Seeing the share screen?
Does that mean I get between Jim and Debbie now? Because I really don't want to get between them. They're just an amazing couple.
Well, I don't want to arm wrestle her either.
Looks like it's a dogfight to the end to me. I mean, we're just getting started here too. Yeah. So
Not messing around in advance this year, I tell you that.
well, those of you that are inclined, you know, we have a new place to have dinner afterwards. It's called La Tapatia, because the other place went out of business that we used to go to. I don't know. But this one has better food, though. Yeah, this one has better food. So it's anyway, it's not far from here. Just Google it and we'll see you over there.
La Tapatia.
La Tapatia in Bel Air, yes.
According to my GPS, so it's called La Pesha.